A man and his 5-year-old son were driving past a cemetery and noticed a large pile of dirt next to a freshly dug grave, when the little boy said, "Look, Dad, one got out." That's just it, isn't it? In the simplest of ways, Easter Sunday is all about the one that got out. We know how it works, don't we? Either due to sickness and frailty or a sudden tragedy, there comes a time when every one of us breathes our last breath on this earth and dies. Have you ever met anyone who ate dinner with Jane Austen? Or sat in the audience as Beethoven performed on stage? Were you present at the Battle of Waterloo or the coronation of Henry VIII? I humbly suggest no. Because none of us live forever. We know that. Those gathered at the foot of the cross of Jesus 2,000 years ago knew that. They knew that no one survives the horrors of crucifixion. The spear in Jesus' side made sure of that. Jesus really was dead. His life was extinct. There had been rumours going around that something unusual may happen on the third day. No one really believed it would happen, but the chief priests and Pharisees were fearful that there could be a setup to make it look like something had happened. So Pilate ordered them to go make the tomb as secure as you know how. Sorted. What could possibly happen? At the crack of dawn on Sunday, the woman came to the tomb carrying the burial spices they had prepared. They found the entrance stone rolled back from the tomb, so they walked in. But once inside, they couldn't find the body of the Master Jesus. They were puzzled, wondering what to make of this. Then, out of nowhere it seemed, 2 men, light cascading over them, stood there. The women were awestruck and bowed down in worship. The men said, "Why are you looking for the living one in a cemetery? He is not here, but raised up. Remember how he told you when you were still back in Galilee that he had to be handed over to sinners, be killed on a cross, and in 3 days rise up?" Then they remembered Jesus' words. These women didn't see a large pile of dirt next to a freshly dug grave, but instead a rolled back stone. They could exclaim to one another, "Look, one got out." On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, life turned upside down forever. On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, the way of the world was confronted by the way of heaven. On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, death lost its power. Death lost its sting. On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, hatred and darkness and humiliation and desperation were confronted with hope and delight. On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, Jesus is risen. On that gloriously bright morning, by a garden tomb, the empty tomb and folded grave clothes gave us eternal life. One got out, they could say, but because this one, this perfect, sinless, love-filled one got out, we can all get out of the grave. Because Jesus didn't just conquer death for himself, but for us all. And the living, breathing, resurrected person of Christ didn't just conquer death, he conquered darkness, hopelessness, fear, sin, despair, loneliness, hatred. He conquered all that limits the abundant, wonderful, enriching, and fulfilling life we were created for. There is no more spectacular view than a beautiful, clear sunrise. The wonderful colours and serene reflection inspire within us hope and joy. Even when things are tough and treacherous, a sunrise reminds us that there is a new day dawning. We are reminded that there is always hope, always possibilities, always beauty in our worlds. But on that first Easter morning, that sunrise was just the backdrop to the single event in history which doesn't just symbolise hope, possibility, and beauty. It is hope, possibility, and beauty. Millie wasn't trying to start a theological debate. She just wanted to make a point about Jesus' resurrection. Her Sunday school teacher had tried to encourage her class with the assurance that Jesus is everywhere. But for Millie, that didn't sound right. So she said, "I know one place where Jesus isn't." The teacher curiously replied, "Oh, really? Where is that?" The bright little girl declared, "He's not in the grave." This Easter Sunday, as we celebrate the resurrected Jesus, he isn't in the grave. Tomorrow, when you face a painful conversation with a dearly loved family member, he isn't in the grave. This week, when you face an anxious hospital appointment, he isn't in the grave. This month, when you face a lonely battle with your mental health, he isn't in the grave. This year, when you face a heartbreaking bereavement, he isn't in the grave. In all the days of your life to come, when you face joy and sorrow, laughter and tears, delight and fear, he isn't in the grave. For now into eternity, Jesus isn't in the grave because he is risen. God bless you and have a wonderful Easter.